Let us talk some Cowboys football, man. Matt Eberflus is moving to the coaching booth to call the plays for Dallas in Week 16. That's how he will close out the season. But what does that mean and why I think there's more to the story than we might know? Listen, Matt Eberflus, we know the Cowboys defense has been struggling. Earlier this week, he surprised us by letting reporters know Matt Eberflus is no longer going to be calling plays from the sideline. He is going to be up in the coaching booth. Brian Schottenheimer talked about it today, actually, on 105.3 The Fan. And I think there's a lot to these stories, so we're going to be talking about it today here at A to Z Sports Dallas. We are live on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. So welcome on into the show, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have in mind as well as we discuss this Matt Eberflus decision. I gotta be real with you. I'm gonna start this off with a reality check. If you think Matt Eberflus going up to the booth to call the plays is gonna fix the Cowboys' struggling defense, think again. It's not gonna work. Let's be honest here. Matt Eberflus has been calling plays for the defense since 2018. At times he didn't at Chicago, but that doesn't matter because he's the head coach. Obviously, he's going to be on the sideline as a head coach. But he called plays for 4 years in Indianapolis as defensive coordinator. Never did he do it from the coaching booth. He did it from the sideline. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't work if you do it from the booth. Dan Quinn made it work for the Cowboys for a long time. He was very successful calling plays from the booth. However, it's not going to work for Matt Eberflus. Matt Eberflus is not doing this because he genuinely believes that it's going to work out. It was funny. It was hilarious that he told reporters, yeah, I've done it in the past. Yeah, I've been in the booth in the past. When he was linebackers coach in 2009 and 2010 for the Cleveland Browns. The reality is, in my opinion, that Matt Eberflus is only going up because he's desperate at this point. Days earlier, Jerry Jones had said and admitted, yep, this guy is on the hot seat. I mean, he didn't say that word by word, but he did say that over the next 3 weeks, how he performs is going to be a big criteria to determine if he sticks around or not in 2026. So that is about as hot as your seat is going to get in the NFL. The owner publicly admitting that he's going to be evaluating you over the last 3 games of the season. I mean, there's a lot of times where even Jerry Jones has been like, yeah, we're happy with this guy, right? It happened with Kellen Moore. They were happy with him. And then by the end of the season, they were moving on from Kellen Moore. So obviously, Eberflus is in an awkward spot. And now I'm going to speculate a little bit here. I will admit this is not something that we can know for sure because we were not in the meeting room. But Brian Schottenheimer spoke to 105.3 The Fan today, and in that interview, he kind of suggested, in my view, that it was Schottenheimer's idea for Eberflus to move up there. He said, yep, that's why I thought it was a good idea, or why it seemed a good idea to him. And the way that he phrased it kind of made it seem to me like this might be Schottenheimer's idea more than Eberflus's. And that's just, it speaks volumes about what's going on behind the scenes in Dallas, right? Obviously, people are not that happy with Eberflus. And again, we don't know for sure if that's how things went down in the meeting room. But the way that I see it, Schottenheimer said that, hey, it seemed like a good idea to me. You take into account that Schottenheimer inserted himself into defensive meetings earlier in the season. And to me, it's not far-fetched to suggest that this might not even be Eberflus's idea originally, but he understands where he's at, so he's like, sure, I'll try it. Now, I was speaking before about how, this is not going to fix the Cowboys defense magically from one moment to another. One of the reasons why I believe that is Schottenheimer explained the strength or the advantage, more like, of being up there. And it's obvious what the strength is. You get a bird's eye view of what's going on with your unit, right? And Schottenheimer was making this specific example of like, if I'm on the sideline, I don't get to see what's on the opposite sideline as well as I do what's on this sideline. So the advantage is if I'm from the booth, I'm getting that all 22 view of the defense, and I can see exactly what's going wrong. The downside to it, the trade-off, is that I'm not there on the sideline to tell my players what just went wrong or what adjustment we are going to be making. So the Cowboys are going to rely on those assistant coaches down there to relay Eberflus's message. Now, I will insist, I don't think either of the processes is wrong, doing it from the sideline or doing it from the booth. There's advantage to both, and we've seen both work across the entire NFL, not just the Cowboys. There are successful coaches that do it on the sideline. There are successful coaches that do it up there. With that being said, this idea that Eberflus is going to figure out what's wrong because he's going to get that bird's eye view. Dude, he's been getting that bird's eye view on film for 16 weeks now because this is week 16 of the season. So I would just say, man, if you're a Cowboys fan and you're excited about the fact that Eberflus is going to do something different, man, I think it's in your best interest not to be that excited, honestly. I don't think it's going to magically fix one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL, though I guess if you're excited about this potentially meaning that he's on the hot seat, I mean, go for it, because I think it's in the best interest of the Cowboys to let Eberflus go once the season is over. And I think this kind of confirms the fact that this dude is in the hot seat. Eberflus, there's no denying it, and I'll get to the comments here in a little bit, but there's no denying that Jerry Jones publicly admitting that he's going to evaluate Eberflus is a change in tone to what he said back at the trade deadline, where he was talking about hoping for continuity at the defensive coordinator position. And I understand why he's hoping for continuity, but Eberflus is not the guy you want continuity with, in my opinion. So let's see, man. Let's see how things play out. Shout out to Joe over here on the Facebook chat. He's watching from Italy, Cowboys Nation, representing around the world. Thank you guys for joining the show, man. Thank you to everyone also on the Instagram side of things. I saw a comment over here on TikTok. I've got TikTok going on the phone here to the side, so apologies if I'm looking to two separate places. That's how we roll here at A to Z Sports. We want to hit you on other platforms as well. Man, I missed a comment I just saw out of the corner of my eyes. Emilio was saying over here on TikTok, Al Harris is the guy. And Baby B says, yep, he should have been our DC this year. I know a lot of people are missing Al Harris. You know what the crazy part about Al Harris is to me right now? It's that freaking Nahshon Wright is killing it for the Chicago Bears. And the reason why I think that matters, the reason why I cannot stop thinking about that is we had Nahshon Wright, we had Al Harris. Maybe he was just like a late bloomer, right? I mean, wouldn't be the first occasion in the NFL where a player just happens to be good until a few years down the road while he develops. But Nahshon Wright is killing it for the Bears. And it's not like the Cowboys didn't have the player and didn't have the coach. They had both of them. But I'm very happy about Al Harris killing it for the Chicago Bears. Man, listen, I do disagree. I kind of disagree that Al Harris was the guy that the Cowboys should have had as DC. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Al Harris, and I always thought, man, this guy's going to be a good DC someday. I think we were all on the same page. But is he the guy that should have stayed as DC? I think it should have been Mike Zimmer, to be honest with you. I think it should have been Mike Zimmer. Now, I understand there might be other factors that kept Mike Zimmer away from the Cowboys' DC job. And what I mean by that is, I'm not sure how happy Mike Zimmer was with his return to the NFL. We heard him at the end of the season talk to reporters, and he was like, man, this, like, it's exhausting, right? And we're talking about a guy that was old but retired, came back, and came back to football and maybe was not, in the right mindset to take on that job again. Now, I also remember Cowboys insider Brian Broaddus revealing that maybe Mike Zimmer was a little bit upset at him not being the guy. Like, once you move on from Mike McCarthy, why not Mike Zimmer? And maybe he wanted to be a head coach, and since he was not going to get that opportunity, maybe he decided to distance himself, from the Cowboys, which would make sense. But I think, well, looking back, like if you ask me, sorry, man, I keep hitting the phone over here as I try to scroll through the comments. Shout out to everyone who is joining the show and following, by the way. Appreciate you so much. But when I think back to the offseason and I think, hey, who would have been the best DC for the Cowboys in 2025? Man, I think Mike Zimmer was your best case scenario. Now, speaking of, and as we continue to talk about, Matt Eberflus here, for those of you who are maybe not following the Cowboys day to day in the off season like you would in the regular season, ever since before the Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer, there was already talk about Matt Eberflus being the defensive coordinator for Dallas. And man, that is just not the right process to go about building a staff and building your team. And I think if we are right, in the sense of us believing the Cowboys are going to move on from Matt Eberflus very soon, because to me, the warning signs are here. Jerry Jones saying what he said, he moving to the coaching booth, something he's never done, calling the plays in his career ever. I just think that the next hire the Cowboys make at DC should be Brian Schottenheimer's hire. It shouldn't be the front office's hire. And I think that's perhaps one of the biggest mistakes the Cowboys front office has been making for years. When they hired Mike McCarthy, and I'm not going to lie to you, I've always been a Kellen Moore fan. I thought Kellen Moore was going to be a good head coach someday. I liked the guy. And I believed in him as an offensive coordinator. But when you brought in Mike McCarthy as the Cowboys, you were like, hey man, come on board, but you're not going to call the plays because we've got a dude in Kellen Moore. That's not the right process. Now, did the Cowboys win with that process for a little bit? Sure. They put together 3 consecutive 12-win seasons. You know that story, blah, blah, blah. So to a degree, it worked. But that's a wrong approach, man. That's not how you build a winning staff. Because then what you had was a head coach that was not really on the same page with his offensive coordinator. And mind you, it was a freaking offensive-minded coach in Mike McCarthy. So even there, you had like some implicit disagreement, honestly, because not even in the bad way that, hey, McCarthy and Kellen Moore have totally different views of football, but they're two offensive minds and successful enough to be in a position to call plays in the NFL. Obviously, there's going to be some level of disagreement there. Now, the Cowboys then hire Brian Schottenheimer, and they pretty much let him know, hey, we got a defensive guy. You go have fun building your offensive staff, but we're bringing Matt Eberflus as a defensive coordinator. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I feel like Schottenheimer absolutely freaking nailed, and he's had some good and bad in his first year as head coach in the NFL, but one of the best things he did was put together his staff. He brought in Clayton Adams. He brought in coaches, assistant coaches from the college football level that have been successful in their first year here at the Cowboys. And I feel like you need to trust that. You need to trust that judgment and allow Schottenheimer to bring in the defensive coordinator of his choice. I think that's in the best interest for the Cowboys. And I think any successful franchise in the NFL operates this way. I think they let the head coach build his staff, pretty much. Hey, shout out to Alexis, who is watching on TikTok. He says he follows me on Primero Cowboys. For those of you interested, that's my Facebook and YouTube channel in Spanish, if you guys want to check that out. We've got, hey, who was that? Oh, sorry, man, I lost the username. We've got R Senior saying, hey, bro, just jump on the Houston Texans bandwagon. Man, you know that's not how we rock here on ADZ Sports Dallas, man. But hey, how about the Texans, man? They're doing pretty good. Suddenly, they look like a playoff contender. Brian says, no Cowboys fan ever talk about the real problem. Jerry is the worst GM in the NFL. I agree in the second part. I think Cowboys fans talk about it, though. I think Cowboys fans know that he is a problem, and he's been for a while. I think the Cowboys should have a GM in the first place. That's not the owner. You look at GMs across the league, man, you're talking about 50-year-olds for the most part, 60 years old. Dude, Jerry Jones has no business being the GM of the Cowboys, but hey, he owns the team. That's been his MO for so many years now. It's not going to change, unfortunately. And it doesn't seem like when Stephen Jones takes over as the guy in charge of the Cowboys, to put it one way, I don't see him bringing in a general manager, but we'll see. We'll see. Hey, what's up, Tommy? He says, what's up, Mo? Long time no see live. Yeah, man. We're back doing some lives here and there for A to Z Sports. We're doing pretty much Friday mornings, Friday noon, afternoon, that kind of thing. So excited about being here. Doing a lot of short form content, man, but excited about doing some lives as well. Errol over on the Instagram side of things, he says, I wish we had Tony Romo as our head coach. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that would work out the way a lot of people think it would work out, Errol. I gotta disagree there respectfully, man. I think that Tony Romo as the head coach would not be good. I think he as a coach in general would not be good. The reason being, honestly, I'm not even sure Tony Romo was a good teammate to Dak Prescott in 2016 when he was injured. I think Mark Sanchez was a better teammate for Tony Romo. I'm not sure about him as a coach in the NFL. And with the money that he's making over at CVS, of course, that's never going to happen. But I know it's a thought that a lot of Cowboys fans have had over the years. What about Romo as the head coach? But hey, I'll do you one better. Troy Aikman as the general manager. Now, that would be fun. And I think Aikman at some point has expressed interest in that, right? Brian says, oh my God, you're the only Cowboys fan that understands the problems. Hey, man, appreciate you. There are a lot of very smart Cowboys content creators out there, I'm sure, that agree with some of the stuff that we're saying here, but I appreciate the comment. George says, Shoddy is doing a great job, man. He just needs better tools to work with. I'll tell you this, man. I know it's not been perfect. I know the red zone offense needs to get better. I've been pretty underwhelmed with how teams have taken away this land for George Pickens. And over the last couple of games, we have not seen that change up from Schottenheimer. Like, this is how I'm going to get Pickens the ball now. I hope we see it on Sunday. So what I'm saying is I know it's not perfect, but I agree with George. I feel like overall, it's been a positive first year for Schottenheimer as a head coach. Absolutely needs to get better. Absolutely needs to show that he can be a better play caller in the red zone if he's going to continue to call plays. But there's a lot to like. There is a lot to like, in my opinion. So we'll see, man. We'll see in year two. Among the things that I really like is the accountability part of it, the culture part of it, the fact that he brought in Clayton Adams, the fact that he was willing to revamp the Cowboys' run game, the way that the offense is designed and how the pass game and the run game has been married to each other for the entire season. All of that has been a positive, man. All of that has been a positive. Shout out to George, who is watching from Ciudad de Mexico. Nick says, do you think Josh Jacobs will play this week? I'm honestly not sure about his status is. Let's see here. And then we'll get out of here. By the way, is any of you on the semifinals for fantasy football? I have Puka, man. I have Puka in a 16-year-old league. I'm not sure about Josh Jacobs, man. I got to be honest with you. But make sure you check out A to Z Sports. We've got a Green Bay section on the website. And I'm sure my colleague Wendell will have you covered on that front. But I owe you that one. I'm not sure what his status is going to be for a Sunday. But a huge game, by the way. Huge freaking game for Josh Jacobs and the Packers. Packers-Bears is going to be fun. Dude, I thought we got Game of the Year last night, by the way. But I know this is not A to Z Sports. I This is not ADC Sports LA or whatever, but man, that was a heck of a football game. Now I'll say goodbye with this. Errol says, I like Schottenheimer. I think he's going to be really do good. Errol says, yeah, now you got my attention talking about that Troy Aikman suggestion. Shout out to Carlos on the TikTok show as well, inviting people to watch Primero Cowboys, man. The Tommy says, 16-year-old league, did you join when you were 2 months old, Mo? I actually was not. I mean, I would have been 10 years old when it started, because I'm 26 now, believe it or not, but I was not around when it first begun. It's actually a league that started with some older friends of my brother, and then I kind of joined halfway through it. So I have not been in the league 16 years old, but the league is 16 years old. And I'm going to win it. I'm going to win it, man. I'll keep you updated next week with it, but it looks like I'm going to get to the championship at the very least. Hope you have the same success and luck over on your fantasy football leagues, and I'll get out of here, man. I'll let you enjoy your Friday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you check out adzsports.com/Dallas for more Cowboys content. I just posted a story on the Matt Eberflus thing that we've been talking about. If you want to read more on it, and I have you covered with Trevon Diggs drama in there, thoughts on the Cowboys in general, the Deron Bland injury, which very unfortunate. We'll see if that gets Trevon Diggs on the field or not. Final day for a decision is tomorrow, so the Cowboys have to make a decision here pretty soon. But I'll see you guys. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a good one. Have a good weekend.